In today's video, we're gonna uncover 3 bad habits that are killing your throw. There are 3 bad habits that we often have to work through as discus throwers. And that first bad habit is forcing the orbit of the discus. So yes, a good discus throw must have a wide circular orbit. The orbit of the discus, the path the discus travels, is directly related to the tension between your shoulder and hip. So when you have hip and shoulder tension, your orbit will be fine. There is no need to force the discus high up in the middle. All that's gonna do is put the discus, arm, and shoulder ahead of your hip. And that eliminates tension, that takes the tension away, which is counterproductive because you need the tension between shoulder and hip, having the shoulder back. That's what creates the orbit. So rather than, as you run here into the circle, rather than putting the discus up, let that discus stay behind you. Run away from the discus and just focus on getting your hip, let your hip get out and ahead as you run forward. So you just focus on level shoulders and getting this hip out and around. Landing in this position, that will take care of itself. You will get the right orbit rather than forcing it up in the front. That only kills your distance and the feeling of the throw. The second bad habit we have is to kick our right leg up as we go into the circle. So this is our sprint position, and yes, we have to drive forward. Yes, the right leg is aggressively coming into the middle, but it goes low and rotational, not up and linear. This will not serve you well as you throw. Again, your success in throwing, the amount, how far you can throw depends on how well you keep tension between the shoulder and hip. And when I say tension, I mean shoulder behind hip. We want to move through the circle. We want to run this way with the shoulder back. And so throwing the discus up, like forcing the orbit and kicking the right leg into the middle, they're very much connected. So if you kick this leg up in the middle, your discus is going to follow. Right? That's a very unstable way to throw discus. Rather than kicking the leg up, you need to switch your hip. So think of your right hip and left hip. They stay on a level plane and they move like this through the circle. Yeah, we got to get the hip ahead so that it stays in front of the shoulder, but we do not do that by kicking up. All right, anytime that you move up in the circle, if you're going to kick your leg up, that's slowing you down and you're losing tension. And those are the opposite things we want to do. We want to always move faster through the circle, and then we always want to keep as much tension as possible. All right, guys, the third bad habit that I want to address in today's video is the habit of throwing and pulling your left arm or your non-throwing arm. And it really happens in 2 main places. One, at the front of the ring, a lot of people are taught to throw and then pull like crazy with this left arm. Like throw it out and pull it down, right? The second place that we're taught to pull is out of the back of the circle. So after you wind up, we're taught to throw that left arm. And the idea behind both of those spots is to create some speed, create some energy, get things going. But that is terrible for our long-term throwing ability. So often, this is how I was taught when I was a young discus thrower, and it has plagued me from the beginning. Because what that does is that, remember earlier I talked about our main goal is to keep tension between our hips and our shoulders, which means our shoulder behind hip. Anytime that we are falsely throwing this left arm, throwing the shoulder, our right arm's gonna follow, right? So if I whip this arm's gonna go with it, which means the shoulder gets ahead of the hip. That's why that's a problem. Now, does the left arm do stuff? Absolutely, but it must be contained within correct posture. So in the back of the circle, like if I'm gonna throw this way, this left arm can move as fast as you want. Go for it, but it must not get past the left leg. Because if the arm gets past the left leg, the right arm's gonna come with it, which means the right arm gets past the right hip. So like in the back of the circle, yeah, let's move fast, but this all stays together. And then as we think about the throw in the end, it is counterproductive to start yanking our left side. Here's why people teach that. One is you have an initial boost in distance. And why is that? Because when you yank down here, it causes a stretch reflex across your chest and into your arm. That feels good, right? Anytime that we have more tension, that feels good. But that is false tension. That's tension between shoulder to shoulder, you know, ripping open at the front. We need tension between our shoulder and our hip. So do not force the throw by yanking at the front of the ring. You throw farther and you'll throw more consistent and you'll throw with more power by taking the hip and pushing that towards where you want to throw. Sure, the left arm is going to come down and obviously there's going to be some activation with there, but if you're thinking just pull, that's just a cheap trick to try to throw farther. Real distance comes from working against the ground. It's from planting the foot with your shoulders back. It's from cranking this right leg and hip into the ground for the throw. That's how you throw far. Again, let's do a quick recap. 3 habits that are awful for our technique. 1 is forcing the orbit and discus. 2 is kicking the right leg up in the middle. And 3, yanking or pulling or throwing that left arm throughout the throw. Again, far throws comes from correct posture and constant tension between shoulders and hips. Everything I'm teaching is about creating tension, holding tension, and using that tension for your benefit. If you want to learn a little bit more of how to do this properly, I have made a video, a private video that has my 8 best drills for learning the full spin and discus. It walks you through the different positions of how to get into the full throw, and how to create tension, how to keep tension, and how to use the tension as you move through the circle. Again, you'll find that on my website. It's bowmanthrows.com. Again, it's right there when you get there, and just click show me the drills. So you guys are doing great. I'm glad you watched this video, and I'll see you on the next one.